Hey YouTube land, Tychonders there, doing another action figure review, and today we're having a look at the Amazon, I believe it's an Amazon exclusive, at least in the States it is. I don't know if it's even available over here. I ordered mine from Amazon.com. This is the Batman 89 Batwing and Batman figure. Now it is interesting. This is done by Spin Masters, and it is part of their Batman the Movie collection. And an interesting side note, and I didn't realize it at the time when I ordered it, that it actually comprises of two Batman movies, because as you can see on the front here, this is the classic Tim Burton 89 Batman logo, and then over here you have the Batman Returns, the other Tim Burton sequel movie. So you're actually getting the Batwing, but the pilot, or technically the figure that you get with it, is from a different movie. So these two figures, or these two characters, didn't interact, because if you're a fan of the original Batman movie, you know by the time Batman Returns rolls around, the Batwing is no more, and it only appears in the one movie. So it is interesting to note that they kind of packed two different figures from two different eras together. But if I move around to the back of the box, it just does a showcase of what you get in the box and how it is displayed. I do like on the top of the box, it's very subtle. It's actually on the sides as well. You have like Batman logos all along the top. I'm not sure if you can see it on the screen, but it is the Burton verse, or Tim Burton style Batman logos. So what we will do is we will bring in the Batwing, and you can take a look at the Batwing and its pilot. So bear with me a moment while I bring the box out of the way, because this thing is a bit of a big chunky thing, and I'm gonna have to adjust my camera, so it is a bit lower than expected. Bear with me a moment. Let's see if I can readjust my camera, get a better lineup of it. Hopefully all the figures that are lying in front of it won't be visible. So there is the Batwing on its little wheels. It does have wheels similar to the Flash version. In fact, what I'm going to do, let's see if I can stand it up this way. That might be a bit better. I just angled my camera up so you can see it in all its glory. Again, I'm going to have to readjust my camera. Bear with me a moment. Just bring it up a touch. There we go. So I'm going to try and measure it for you from the front prongs up here, which I'm not sure if you can see, to the back piece is just around 13 inches, so it's a little over a foot. And then the wingspan from wing to wing is around 16 inches. So, and then height off the ground, excuse me, height off the ground to the highest point, which would be these wings here at the back, is around 3 inches on its wheels. If you don't have it on the wheels, obviously it's going to be lower than that. So it is fairly simplistic. There isn't any missile launch gimmicks or anything along those lines with this thing, and there is some assembly required. So I'm going to fold in the wing, or in the landing gear. You see there's two landing gear here at the back, and then there's one here on the front, and this folds in. They did design it nice enough that you can get a finger in. They have like a finger hole basically. So is the best terminology I suppose I could come up with for this, but it is a groove, so you can actually get your finger in to pull out the landing gear instead of having to fight it and actually drag it out. It is fairly plain on the bottom. There's no real paint apps on the bottom. There is assembly required. You have these wings are separate in the box. I'm not sure if you can pop them back out once they're in place. but it does give you that overall look. Let's see if we can get a good picture of the cockpit. If I open it up, you might be able to see in there. There is a sticker control panel, which is interesting. It is interesting that they went with a sticker for the control panel, because if I flip it around to the side, and hopefully you can see this on this way, there is actually detailed, sculpted detail on either side where the figure sits, but the control panel, instrument panel itself is a sticker. So it is interesting that they didn't do sculpted detail for the whole lot. These kind of wing bits are a little bit, they are molded in here, but this one on the top is separate, but it is slightly more less rigid plastic, mostly probably for safety issues. But all in all, it is a fairly single block of what it is. It doesn't really do anything other than an opening and closing cockpit, so it is fairly simplistic, as I said. And then the figure you get with this is this guy. This is the Batman Returns Batman. So I don't know if they have a figure for the original 89 Batman Burton film, because the sculpting on that is different. In fact, I have an older version of the Mattel one. This is done for the DC Multiverse line. I just get his cape to fit a little better. So main differences were on this is the chest area on the suit. On the original, it was more sculpted abs, whereas in Batman Returns they kind of went with this more armored look. The cowl was different. Obviously on this figure the head can turn. On the original suit, it was nearly impossible for the actor, for Michael Keaton, to turn his head. He actually had to turn his whole body, where when Batman Returns rolled around, they actually had some improvements to the cowl piece, and he was actually able to turn his head a little bit better. For the most part, this has the same articulation as the kind of standard Spin Master figure line. So before I get into how articulated he is, I'm just going to do a tape measure so you can see how tall he is. He is actually around, with his ears, he's nearly 4.5 inches, because those ears are big and pointy and pop off the top of his head. And as I'm going to do size comparisons, we'll get it out of the way first, because I will try and do a size comparison with the other Batwing, but I'll leave that to the end. We'll do the figures first. Here he is with the Keaton Batman from the Flash movie line that they did. And as you can see, he must have shrunk in the interim between the movies, because he is a fraction of the height of the other two. And his head is tiny, and he is fairly small. But he's not a bad figure. It's just I wish they had the proportions of these ones. He's very skinny, very short, and very... the facial likeness isn't too bad, but the facial likeness on this is absolutely dead on, I think, to Keaton. It's one of the better looking ones I've seen in a long while. Even the original Mattel, I think it was DC Multiverse they used to call the line, even that one was good for its time, but it wasn't brilliant. This one seems to have captured his likeness a lot better. And I know people tend to critique the likenesses for the figures. When the original McFarlane figure came out, they were all over it, saying it didn't look anything like Keaton, whereas I think this really nails the likeness. So for articulation, he is fairly limited to a degree. So his arms can move up that much and can rotate all the way around. He does have a single jointed elbow with a swivel. He has nothing in the wrist. He has that ball jointed head, so you can get some good range of movement on it. Even, I'd say even more so than how much movement Michael Keaton got with his actual suit on the movie. And there is no waist articulation. His whole body is a single piece, so there's no waist swivel, ab crunch, anything like that. His legs can kick forward that much. There is a thigh swivel, and there is a single jointed knee with a swivel as well. Nothing in the boot, but there is peg holes in the boot as well. So you can get some action poses out of him if you wish. He doesn't come with any iconic accessories or batarangs or anything like that. What is interesting compared to the previous Flash version Batman is Spin Master actually went and did this peg hole thing. Now, I'm not sure if it's intended for something later on down the line, because the batwing doesn't have a peg hole for him to be locked in place. But if you have any of the Spin Master figures, you can clip on any of those accessories from that. If you have those big backpack pieces, you might be able to fit him onto one of those. I don't have one to hand. I do have one or two of the Batman ones, but I don't know where they are at the moment. So, but like, you can kit him out with some of the accessories from that line, I think, which is something that you couldn't really do with this version. Even though he has fairly outstretched hands, I think his hands are tiny and couldn't actually grasp anything really well. So again, one of the other difference between the paint apps on this guy and the other is the belt on this guy is actually gold, whereas the belt on this is just a yellow paint. I would have loved to have seen them do it with the gold paint application, but then again, that probably would have pushed the pricing up a bit more. So all in all, he is a really good figure. Now, I do have one other figure, well, a couple of other figures I want to bring in just for comparisons. So here is the DC Multiverse version Catwoman, which is from the same movie. So you can see they actually stack quite nicely together. Now, I don't know if Spin Master have plans to do villains from the movies or expand the movie collection that they're doing. Hopefully they will do. But just for some other figure comparisons, here is one of the kind of more comic-y, cartoony style villains, Deathstroke, and then we'll bring in one of their standard. This is the kind of basic bog standard Batman. If we can just line up his legs a bit better, because they're all over the place. I'll just pop Catwoman behind them. Hopefully she will stand. So this is like the standard kind of Batman. You can see it's a bulky body. So they didn't go as bulky with the proportions, but they did kind of keep them chunky enough that he doesn't look anorexic. Unfortunately, he's the poorest terminology I could probably use for it, but that's how this Flash version kind of looks. He kind of looks emaciated, so it is a shame. It is a good figure, and I did say when I was reviewing it that it's not a bad likeness. It just is a very shrimpy looking figure compared to the other figures that they've put out in the past. So that said, we're going to move these aside. Whoop. And we shall try and bring in the other Batwing and show them side by side. So here is the Flash version Batwing. You can see it does take some design cues from the Keating version, or the Burton-verse version. Cockpit, the wing design, it has the kind of, it looks like the Bat logo. It is quite a different vehicle. It is not intended to be the same vehicle. You can see the cockpit is a little bit more forward. In fact, the one in the movie actually had that rotating cockpit thing. This one's a little bit more on the chunky side. But if I rotate them around and hopefully it won't knock everything around, there's a bit more detailing on the bottom of this one. You have the vents, the VTOL style fin things for it. You have the landing gear, which I believe, looking at the landing gear, they look like they're the exact same landing gear. They're just in different placement. So the smaller ones over here, if I can get them out. Oh, they're very tight on this, if I remember correctly. Right, I'm gonna have to grab something here. Yep. So I believe these are exactly the same landing gear mold. There's no difference. That's why it has the same kind of height off the ground, or ground clearance as well. They're very small and short to the ground. So what we will do, because people will want to see him in it, we will chuck Batman into his Batwing, or the Batman from Batman Returns into the batwing, he will fit. It is a little bit of a tight squeeze, but he will fit in there. So what you need to kind of do, tuck his cape in underneath him, tuck his hands in under the control panel, because that's the best way to get him into it. You kind of have to lean him down a bit. Hopefully you'll be able to see all that on the screen, but you can get him in. He will sit in quite nicely, and it looks like he's piloting the vehicle, which is kind of cool. So unfortunately, the same can't be said for the Flash version Batwing, which is something that's a bit of a shame, because it even looks like the cockpit is a larger design. So if I open up the cockpit on this one, you can even see it looks way more roomy, way more bigger. But because the wheel well is underneath here, and his legs don't really have the articulation for it, you might be able to squidge him in. But when you try to close the cockpit, it bounces off his ears. And I don't think there's any way of actually making him smaller to fit it. Let me see if I can bend his legs. This might work. I haven't actually tried that, but because the way the wheel well is, it might kind of gets in the way of his legs. So we'll see if we can flatten him in. It's the clearance for his ears, just about. I would be worried about his feet are actually up, pointing upwards. I'm not sure if you can see it. You can just about squish him in, but I would be wary about squashing those bat ears, because I can actually see them through the hinge up here on the canopy. So I would be very, very stressful about that. These could get damaged if you try and squish him into this thing over and over and over. But he does look kind of cool with it. I will give him his original, well, his packing one back, even though he's not actually the character for this. I would love to see them. Well, there is a Batmobile that they have done as part of the Flash line, which is the same Batmobile from the 89 films. So if you have that, which I don't have, he should fit that, no bother, hopefully. I probably with a little bit of manipulation, but he does stand quite nice next to the Batwing. I would love to see them do the bat ski that was in Batman Returns, which is the kind of hydrofoil kind of boat thing that he had. And if they are going to go the route of doing the Batman movies from that era, like Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, I would like to see the Batman Forever Batmobile. McFarlane have started to pump those ones out, and it would be nice to see them, or even the 66 Batmobile. And if they did a Adam West style Batman, even though that's not part of a movie collection, it would be kind of cool to see them do a West Batman with Robin, and maybe in a set with Robin, the Batmobile, and Batman himself, just as an idea. But all in all, it is a really nice set. So if you can pick this up, I do recommend picking it up. I think it's in stock now at the moment, but it does tend to go in and out of stock as it is. There is also a couple of other figures in the line. So there is a 3-pack of Batman figures, which I believe comes with this style, this Batman Returns. It also comes with the Ben Affleck Batman from Dawn of Justice, and I'm trying to think what the other one is. There is a third Batman figure. I think it's Christian Bale Batman from the Dark Knight trilogy, or the Nolanverse trilogy, because they do have single carded figures of this guy, I believe. I need to double check it. If I can find a picture of it, I'll throw it up here, but I believe it's him and the Nolanverse version of Bane. So it's the Tom Hardy Bane, which does give a clear indication that they might do Ledger Joker and the is it Christopher Eccleston? Not Christopher Eccleston, the guy that played Two-Face. And hopefully they might even do, because they have done a Gordon from a Batman movie, which was The Batman, which I have one of the figures in that line. He's underneath everything over here. If I can find him. He was here a second, a little while ago. There we go. So just for a size comparison as well, might as well bring him in. There is Penguin from the Batman, The Batman with oh, what's his name? The guy from Twilight. That oh, His name has gone out of my head. Robert Pattinson, that's his name. The Robert Pattinson Batman. I do have one of those Batman knocking around somewhere, but I don't have them to hand. Actually, what I might do, just as I can spot one and have it handy, and it's probably going to knock a whole ton of things over, because I have some of the other, whatchamacallit, I know this review is going a little bit longer than expected, but because I have some of the other Spin Master vehicles to hand, I will move this, hopefully get it just standing up at the back here. It's probably going to fall over, but we'll have it. This is just one of the more recent bikes. We'll see if Batman can fit on that, because it is a Batman vehicle. It isn't from the same universe, but if you have it, you might be able to get him to sit around it and drive around on it. It's not too bad. He does fit on that. And for something a little bit more different, and it's again another Batman vehicle. It's like a weird batwing thing, which I have done a review for most of these vehicles. If you care to watch some of my reviews and backtrack, he should, in theory, be able to fit onto some of these other vehicles, because I haven't had. I will just close that over with these head fit. I have to squish them down a bit. Does that click into place? I think it does. Yep, there we go. So you can put them in some of the other more 4-inch scale Spin Master designed vehicles. So even if you have the, whatchamacallit, the Batmobile from the Batman film, he should, in theory, because I think he's around the same size as the Patterson figure, he should in theory be able to fit into that as well. So there you go, guys. I'm going to wrap this up here. Just an option of other vehicles you can use with Keaton Batman if you have them. So you can pick and choose what you want for him to drive around in, but he does come with this awesome Batwing, and it's the Batwing itself is what I really wanted. I was expecting the Batman figure to be not as good. I was kind of expecting it to be kind of along the lines of this guy being kind of out of proportion to the other figures that they did, but surprisingly he's more in scale to the previous Spin Master Batman releases than anything else. So I do recommend grabbing this if you can, and hopefully don't wait till it goes completely out of stock and gets harder to get. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this quick video. Well, it's gone on a little longer than expected, and I hope you watched all to the end, and I hope you enjoyed this video review. And as always, please feel free to like, comment and subscribe to my channel. Cheers, guys.